This is Driving Solutions, exclusively on CPTnews.com.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Thanks so much for joining us on another edition of Driving Solutions right here at CBT News. The past few years have seen an unprecedented wave of dealership mergers and acquisitions worth record high values. Yet, economic headwinds have many industry professionals wondering how long these favorable conditions will last. On today's show, we are pleased to welcome back Farid Ahmad, who is the president and CEO of DSMA Dealer Solutions Mergers and Acquisitions, to discuss how the North American M&A market performed in 2023 and what dealers can expect from valuations moving forward in 2024. So Farid, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule there to join us on the show.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. So talk to us a little bit about 2023. How did it fare?
I can only really speak about our organization. 2023 was a record year for us.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. Our numbers are, we sold 135 dealerships.
My gosh.
So 2023 was a good year, but it was a very difficult year. And there was various reasons for that.
Yeah. What give us, at a high level, give us some of the reasons. What made it a unique year in terms of challenges?
So I'd say that the one that's the most obvious to your audience is the finance, banking, lending criteria for goodwill really saw a dramatic shift. You know, I was being interviewed this morning by another organization and they said, can you give us some sort of context to that? Well, in 2022, our buyers were typically able to approach most banks who were being competitive on lending, and they could get a very high percentage of the goodwill, or what we call blue sky, lent to them if they were making an acquisition. But I've noticed most banks now are pulling back from that, which has had a dramatic effect on acquisitions, because now that's forced the buyers to come up with more cash to make up that shortfall of what they could borrow.
Yeah.
They're paying that cash and they're borrowing it at a higher interest rate. They're looking at dealerships in 2023, the inventories came back online, but then the floor plan interest grew on dealer statements, even though they may have had a similar type of volume year.
Yeah.
So it became the perfect storm. And then I also noticed that manufacturers became a little bit more challenging to approve buyers. I think they were also going, let's be a bit more choosy on who we approve. I found that in the transactions that we did.
Okay, that's very interesting. Very interesting. So, if banks are tightening up the lending, what should buyers do? Do they just have to put more money down, or what's the deal?
So the buyers that are being active in the market, most of them have a very good balance sheet. They're pretty strong. I would recommend, and we have various solutions to borrow money. If you're buying an asset or a dealership that includes the real estate, there's a great opportunity to borrow against the real estate. There's lots of companies that are very prominent in that field. So there's other ways to borrow the money.
Sure.
Also, what I noticed in 2023, and I've never seen as many of our deals that had a note as a part of the purchase. Now, some people call that a VTB, a vendor take back.
Yeah.
Because the buyer is saying, I want to buy your asset, but I'm not used to only getting lent 50% towards the goodwill.
Yeah.
Can you help me out? I'll borrow the money from you. You hold the note. I'll pay you back. And for some dealers, it's a good retirement strategy.
I was going to say, yeah, that's not bad at all, because
not at all.
And they know that dealership that they're selling to that buyer is a sound operation.
Exactly.
So
and they get interest money paid on that note.
That's right.
So I've never seen as many of those transactions actually take place as I did in 2023.
Wow. And it's usually, as you know, negotiation is price or terms. So it's kind of you're not going to focus so much on the price if in the event you're giving them that buyer terms, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. In fact, 23% of all of our transactions had some form of note or VTB involved in the transaction.
Wow.
That's the highest we've seen it.
Yeah, that's for sure. So tell me, what are the top 5 brands most requested by buyers out there?
Well, maybe I'll answer it in a different way. And the way I'll answer it is because the answer is different.
Okay.
What's sold and what's the ask? What's sold makes common sense because they have the most rooftops. The big three still are up, led by Chrysler, then General Motors and Ford. But what was surprising we saw was a surge in people looking for Honda stores and VW stores. Those are the highest number of transactions we completed. Those 5 brands were the highest. Now, what is on the wish list from a dealer group? That hasn't changed much. I think Toyota, Subaru, Hyundai,
Lexus, Mercedes-Benz, Porsche,
right?
Porsche. Everybody wants a Porsche store.
Sit down and make that list in 2 seconds, right? What's interesting in that surge is basically Hyundai and Kia. They're getting, in the right market, pretty good money relative to where they were 4 years ago.
That's right.
So I'd say that's a asset to add to your portfolio if you don't have it.
Yeah, for sure. So given everything that we've talked about, how do you see values and activity in the M&A world moving forward?
Yeah. Looking into the DSMA crystal ball, I can tell you it's a little bit cloudy, more cloudy than I've seen it before. But I think based upon some common knowledge factors, what's going to happen to the interest rates in 2024?
Right.
As I mentioned, it is an election year. And typically you normally see the rates drop. I think there could be a 1.5% interest rate drop over the year, maybe even more.
That's huge.
That would really stimulate the M&A world.
Yeah.
So I would say it is very dependent upon the interest rate. But then, are the banks going to get bullish again about our business? Because I'm telling you, their lips are moving, but their actions do not support their lips as far as what their lending criteria is. They've made it very difficult for some buyers.
Right.
So I think it's the interest rates, the optimism or the lack thereof of the banks. And I think that's what's going to be looked at in great detail over 2023. Do I think multiples are going to drop? No. I think for the right brands, we've plateaued. 2023, in my opinion, was a plateau year. And now the only way most of these multiples have to go is down, but not dramatically.
Okay.
Because the economy is pretty sound. Inflation's getting under control. Unemployment's low. So I don't see there being any. The only thing that I could say that may kick us in the teeth is if there is a lot of foreclosures on homes because people who they're renewing their mortgage, they were having a mortgage at 3%, now they're at 9% and they can't afford the house. That would be the only negative factor I see on the horizon. Or if the Middle East thing expands greater, that would also have an impact, obviously.
Right, for sure. But otherwise, barring those elements there, should be another good year in M&A for dealerships, right?
Another good year, and I think that we're actually the first company ever to sign a strategic partnership agreement now because we noticed the trend. Lithia, Penske, Alpha Group, they all bought large groups or groups in the United Kingdom.
Sure.
So we have entered into a strategic partnership with the only M&A firm in Europe that does this, where we will have that relationship where we will now be offering to our US customers and our Canadian customers assets and opportunities in Europe. So we're excited about that growth.
That's fantastic, as well as being able to bring some of those buyers that want to buy into the U.S. market, I would imagine, right? That say, hey, Farid, what have you got in the way of X, Y, and Z in the States? And we've got a ton of money to help, acquire those stores, because it works both ways, right?
One last trend, which I've not seen before, Jim, is the number of American dealer groups looking north across the border for good assets to acquire. And we're dealing with about 4 very large organizations that have put us on a mandate to help them find assets. But their criteria is very strict. But I haven't seen that before either. So that's either because they feel they're paying too much in America for a dealership and they look north.
Sure.
Or they can't find the assets that they need to expand their footprint. And so they're looking north and saying, well, is there some stuff up there that we can add? Because Lithia's done such a good job in Canada. I think a lot of Americans have gone, They can do it. We can do it.
Oh, no question about it. And why not? I mean, it's
Why
really,
not?
Toronto is like just another. It's like a North American city.
It is.
It is a
It's
North
state
American
of the
city, but I mean,
United
it's a city that you could find. It's got so many similarities, and the
Yes.
consumers are pretty much the same. So why
Very
not,
much
right?
so. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Farid Ahmad, who is the president and CEO of DSMA Dealers, if you are looking to buy, sell dealerships, this is the group that you want to talk to. We have Farid on here all the time. Does a phenomenal job. His dealers and his partners love him, and there's a reason for that because they do such a fine job. So thank you so much, Farid, for joining us on the
Thank
show
you.
once again. Really
Anytime,
appreciate
my
it.
greatest pleasure.
Yep.
Thanks very much, and hope you have a great 2024, Jim.
That's right. Will we see you out at NADA?
Yes, absolutely. I'll be there.
Fantastic. All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks for watching Driving Solutions, exclusively on CPTnews.com.